Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Four Train Savages podcast. My name is Rob. Tyler is on the other end of the Zoom room, episode 205, Tyler. And the New York Yankees just finished up the Subway Series with the New York Mets. Took 2 out of 3. Juan Soto makes his return to the Bronx. Heard
hmm
some boos.
Good
Had
time.
a bad series by his standards and carried it a little bit into yesterday's game with the Boston Red Sox.
Gotta hustle
Also,
out of the box, man.
Tyler, I got to say this before we get into more baseball. I'm
Yep.
wearing the shirt right now. I'd be remiss to not say it.
Say go New York, go New York, go! Go New York, go New York, go! Say go!
The New York Knicks
The
are
Knicks are
head-
here.
the New York Knicks are also headed to the Eastern Conference Finals for basketball. We're both big Knicks fans, so and I'm sure a lot of people following us as well are big Knicks fans, being Yankee fans as well, or if maybe you're hate watching as a Met fan to hear about what we have to say about the series, but I guess you got more issues with Soto
Hey,
going
I've
on.
been there, done that,
Um,
Exactly.
but man, it's a good time for the Yankees and a good time for us Yankees and Knicks fans. So
Yep.
it was a fun week, and I was out in Seattle as well for the first series, so got to see them take that series win, and that was a very nice ballpark and a nice time there. There's also some little housekeeping news. We got to get into
Mhm.
Oswaldo Cabrera now being done for the season with that nasty broken ankle injury, so that was very unfortunate. But man, what'd you make of the last week? What were
Yep.
some of the things that stood out to you? Obviously, the Soto stuff,
hmm
and what were you thinking?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's tough to not be happy at this point in the season right now. Knicks are playing well, as you said. Weather's beautiful right now. A couple rainy days on the horizon, but
Yeah.
it's just a ton of good vibes. And then on top of it, I'd argue we were in potentially kind of a weird place with the Yanks before playing San Diego and then a little West Coast trip. Kind of didn't know where we were at with some players and pitching was looking weird, but they've came out and played really well against four good teams, Rob. I'm really happy with the Yankees that their lineup feels deep. Pitching feels like it's coming around. Devin's had some good outings. Juan Soto looks absolutely miserable. I'm just to put it bluntly, Rob, I'm a happy camper at this moment in time.
Yeah,
Belly's coming around.
yeah.
Sucks for Waldo, man. That part sucks, but
Sure.
I'm a happy Yanks fan right now, man. It's hard not to be.
Yeah, I agree. And it was very nice to hear after the disappointing stuff with Waldo about how I think it was Volpe and Judge joined him at the hospital afterwards and just
Was
seeing
there
them.
like most of the night, they said, I think, too,
Yeah,
or
and
something
it's
like
just
that?
rallying behind him, and this team seems to just, and they've had a relationship with him over the past 3, 4 seasons. So
Trent
clearly,
shedding a tear in the post-game presser,
yeah,
too.
so it's very disappointing. I wasn't at that game, so I didn't see
Mhm.
it firsthand. And I actually I was talking to some of the Mariners security officers, and they were just talking about how it was so just incredibly
Gruesome.
sad just for the whole
Mhm.
ballpark and the energy. So, and Waldo seemed in good spirits after seeing some of the social media stuff. It's a disappointing thing, but I think he's going to work his way back. And speaking of that series, they did take 2 out of 3. I was there for one of the losses. They did win that game that Waldo went down, and then also game 3. They took that one. So 2 out of 3. And we talked before this pod, we said how it was really sort of a challenging schedule or a formidable schedule when you look for the A's at the time, who were I think 2 games above 500, so they weren't
Yeah.
playing great
They're,
baseball, but they were
they're, they're
still
not a pushover right now, either way.
exactly at this point in the season. And then you looked at the Mets and you looked at the Mariners, who the Mariners at the time were leading their division, and the Yankees
hmm
went out and took care of business in those series. And they start a series tonight against Texas, who is also a no joke and trying to bounce back this season. So
Yep.
I'm totally like you, man. Happy camper for the way that they handled the series and the way that they're continuing to build that division lead. Actually, speaking of the Mets, hoping that they could win 2 of these games against the Red Sox because we
Yep.
need to get some more ground there.
hmm
But if Juan Soto keeps not legging out doubles or balls hit to the green monster and doing the way that he's doing, it's not helping us out. So I guess that's a double-edged sword. But
Exactly.
um, they take 2 out of 3 against the Mariners, and then they take 2 out of 3 against the Mets. So we'll get into game one. This one, we have Carlos Rodon on the mound, goes 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run. 5 strikeouts, 4 walks. Jonathan Loizaga also comes back from the IL too, Tyler, and
Goatee,
he
Rob.
had
Goatee.
yes, he's got a little goatee action going. And in his outing so far has looked very promising. So,
Mhm.
like to see him get back. As you mentioned, Devin Williams has looked much, much, much better,
Yep.
especially in one of the appearances yesterday, or not yesterday, Sunday with Soto coming up. Big, gets you nervous, but he's been very, very good
Hmm.
as of late. So the way that the Yankees score in this one, Goldschmidt reaches on an infield single to the shortstop, puts us up 2-0 there with a little funky base running business going on. And then in the bottom of the third, sac fly from Volpe, Peraza, bases loaded, walks in a run to go up 4-0. So McGill, not a good start for the Mets in this one. Brandon Nimmo drives in a single in the top of the fourth to cut it to 4-1, and then in the bottom of the fourth, the Yankees tack on a couple more runs thanks to a Goldschmidt single and a fielder's choice with Dominguez. And the pitching really was very solid in this one, outside of then a De Los Santos giving up that double to Lindor. But the Luke Weaver was able to come in and shut it down and help the Yankees win this one 6-2. And in the story, I mean, the story in this one, Tyler, is Soto being back and going into right
Hmm.
field.
Tipping a
The
cap.
bleacher creatures turning their backs on him, which I thought was fine. I think people were making a big deal. Oh, he's only been there for a year, and the Yankee fans are doing that. I thought it was a nice little thing where they're saying, okay, Soto sort of turned their back on him with the way
Hmm.
that this
I
season
thought it was
happened.
fine.
I didn't have any issue with it, and he went to the Mets. I don't really know.
Yeah,
It's gonna
it'd be
piss people
different
off.
if it'd be different if we went to Toronto. And then again, to put it bluntly, too, I mean, us Yankees fans, man, when the Yankees make a run at someone, especially that had been there for a year, brought us to a World Series, we're not used to not getting who we want sometimes,
Yeah,
especially when it comes to retaining a player, right? Like Yamamoto, it's that stuff a little different, but I got no problem with it.
I don't either.
I don't
And
like him.
he tipped it. He tipped his cap, or tipped his helmet
Hmm.
after or during his at bat. And I think one of the big things that, or like a takeaway from this series, and I don't know, we're not in the heads of Juan Soto. We're not in the locker room
But
whatsoever.
we have common sense and eyes.
But common sense and eyes, and it felt as though from this series against the Mets and Juan Soto returning, you got the sense that he was like, okay, first game, they're gonna boo the shit out of me. They're gonna
Hmm.
boo me. They're going to say stuff to me, and they're going to be relentless to me in this first game.
Yeah.
And then it was the second game, same stuff.
Hmm.
Third game,
15
same
years of that,
stuff.
buddy.
And it's 100% right. It's going to be 15 years of this for Juan Soto. And yes, he was only there for one season, but you said it perfectly. The Yankee fans have not been used to a player switching that way to the Mets, and it's unprecedented. It happened, and he's now a Met for 15 years, and the
Yep.
Yankee fans are always going to remember that. So I think that was sort of I know it was the first series, but it looked like it was a shock to his system a bit, and I'm sure he's going to have great games against the Yankees.
He's
And
gonna be good. He's gonna be good.
but it really showed you on a grand stage that this is how the relationship and the Subway Series is going to be for the
Mhm.
next decade and a half, and it was very telling to watch. And Soto certainly experienced it and going, hitting the way he did. So that's
Yeah,
that's what I took from it.
I thought it was cool too. I mean, it's you know my take on the Subway Series the last few years. It's always kind of been, I guess the best way to put it is that Jeter meme where it goes, "It's just the Mets, man. Like I
It's just
really
the
don't
Mets.
care too much."
Hmm.
But now there's a little bit of oomph behind it, if you will, because of Soto. And yeah, man. I mean, we had the article come out and all that stuff, and I don't know if the tipping of the cap was him just trying to act like, yeah, whatever, guys.
He
Like
was
I'm
trying to
too cool.
diffuse it. Honestly,
Yeah,
that's the
too
way it
cool for
felt.
school type of thing. And I think he kind of got put in a place where he's like probably just started to realize that a lot of people like you might kind of turn into a villain across the league in some sense, not just with
Yeah.
the Yanks too. Um, so I was fond of it, Rob. I loved every moment of it, and tough, man. It
Yeah.
seemed like, especially like when the stadium and the Yankees fans as a whole, like I don't think we've ever shown a player that much love where we're chanting "Resign Soto" throughout the
From the start,
playoffs
from the very
from
start.
the jump, and like you're put in front of the best hitter in the world, and you have by far the best year of your career. Like it's not like we had a 1 year rental of I don't know. Insert that name, Anthony Rizzo, and then he had a good, couple months or a good year, and then he
It was
left. It was different.
it was historic. Him
Yeah.
and Judge playing together were comparable to guys like Mantle and Maris, Gehrig and Ruth. They were
Hmm.
putting up those numbers, and that's
Yeah.
why it was so special to
We
Yankee
got robbed
fans.
of seeing that forever.
And that's where the frustration stems for. I totally agree. And when you saw and it was his right to do what he did. It was
Hmm.
his right fully. And Yankees move on. We'll talk a little bit about Plan B and how it's worked out.
Yep.
Wanted to talk about that a little bit, but
Too, if the Yankees offer wasn't 760
y-
60 million or whatever it is,
yeah,
fans probably wouldn't be as upset at one at least, right? If they came in at 625 and it came out in the news later or some article that Yankees tapped out at 8 years or 9 years, something like that, 625. I think the fans would be more upset with the regime, the front office than
yeah,
anything. But the Yankees clearly trying their best to re-sign him, and him just going, nah, take my jet
yeah.
and
It's
my suite and my 22 tickets every home game and this, that, and the third. And they go, okay, you're just
the
you're,
clothing
you're just
allowance.
greedy, brother.
The clothing
Yeah,
allowance.
exactly. Mom's clothing allowance, the whole shebang.
Yeah. So let's go into game two because it's more of the same for Soto
Mhm.
in this one. Also, to end the game, I should have said to end the game that at bat of Weaver versus Soto was a big
Great.
deal too. And
Mhm.
then that happened, role reversal there of Diaz versus Judge, which was disappointing. And
Yep.
this game for Judge goes 0 for 5. It was a big storyline. Then in the big moment, could have helped the Yankees only being down a run in the last inning. Came up short, and then you see graphics and everyone throwing it out about
Yeah,
Judge's.
Twitter was stupid. I
Just
didn't
yeah,
even go on
okay.
Twitter
It,
after.
it
He's
just
hitting 400,
he's
guys.
hitting 400. Let's get over ourselves today,
It's also
okay?
we
Please.
lost. Yeah.
Good outing by Clark Schmidt. Goes 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 5 walks. Would have liked the walks to cut down, 5 strikeouts. So an okay start for Clark. Not the
Happy went
greatest.
6, man. That's what I'm looking for with him,
And
really.
exactly. And Tyler is are we wrong? Is DJ LeMahieu going to be a good contributor to this team in 2025?
I mean, we kind of don't have a choice, man. I mean, at this point, all we've talked about is how we need a right-handed bat at third base. If you can be average, man, I mean, that's something for us. And again, we're way past the point of DJ being a middle of the order or top of the lineup guy. He's gonna hit 7, 8, or 9. So it'd
I
be great if he can produce for us.
The home run on Saturday, big thing,
Yeah.
making good plays at second base, obviously more likely than not when Jazz comes back, going to have to shift him back to third base. Not
Hmm.
sure what the Yankees may do, but that's something that we think they're going to do. Yes, it's
Four
good the
for
way
13, Rob,
it's good
this
for
year.
it's good the way that he's looked. He doesn't look like the worst baseball player like he
Hmm.
did last year, and that's progress.
Yep.
So, hey, if he can be a contributor, let's go. Let's ride.
Yeah.
So we got to see more of a sample size, but he was making good plays in the Subway Series, and I hope that it continues into the next weeks because, as you said, the Yankees needed a bat at third base because Peraza is not cutting it at third.
Hmm.
Now Oswaldo is going to be out for the year.
Yep.
They need a presence at least. Maybe they
Yeah.
make a deadline move and he could hold down the
Good
fort. But
chance they don't, though, man. It seems
yeah,
like
the chances are they probably don't. So this
too
is what
many
they're rolling.
relevant teams.
This is what they're rolling with. So
Yeah.
if DJ can continue to keep it up, that is a good thing.
Yeah.
Top of the fourth, then in this game, Alonso singles in a lot of base traffic there for Clark Schmidt that nabbed him for the 2 earned runs. They go up 2-1, and then Cody Bellinger in the bottom of the sixth is able to homer to center field.
He's
We'll talk
doing
about
it, man.
Belly in a little bit, and then Cruz, who has been really really good for the Yankees. Fernando Cruz,
Mhm.
not his best effort in this one. goes from a walk, let on it, then an infield single, hit by pitch, and then the sac fly to allow the Mets to go up 3-2. And I mentioned before Edwin Diaz closing it out for the Mets, and they tie the series there. So it was a tight game that you felt like the Yankees could have taken there on that Saturday, but they give it up. But luckily, game number 3, it was also tight late, and they were able to pull this one out. Pause. Max Fried, 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 8 Ks. Can't talk enough about how good Max Fried is, Tyler. He is. He may not be leading the pack, although he's leading baseball in ERA. But at this moment in time, Max Fried looks like a Cy Young frontrunner, or at least one of them for the American League. He is looking amazing, and you couldn't have asked like the way that when Garrett Cole went down, the Yankees needed a guy, and they got Max Fried.
That dude.
And they got Max Fried. And listen, in a world that they signed Juan Soto, that's not happening.
Max Fried. We're
That's
probably
not happening.
so much worse.
And this pitching staff is a mess if they do sign Juan Soto. And I'll sit here and say I wanted the Yankees to sign Juan Soto.
We all did, yeah. Yankees probably still wish they could have in some sense,
But here's the thing: the universe works in mysterious ways. And if the Yankees now don't have Max Fried and they didn't know Garrett Cole was going to have his injury prior to the free agency, and Max Fried has just been an absolute workhorse for this team, and he's. At this moment in time, I think he's the best pitcher in the American League and maybe the best pitcher in baseball, the way he's pitching. So
yeah, man. I mean, I'm totally with you there. I think a lot of people forget. I don't remember if it is in all of baseball or no, I think it's in all of baseball. I'm pretty sure he leads all pitchers in ERA since 2020. Obviously, injuries haven't necessarily been on his. He's had some injury stuff the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But when he's on the field, there's no overlooking what he does. I mean, he's 129 this year, 325 last year, 255 the year before, 248. I mean, I would just like to put it in writing too. Not that this necessarily matters, but if Garrett Cole was doing this, we would be absolutely losing our sauce on here going, Garrett Cole is the best pitcher in baseball. And, Max Fried isn't the flashy. He isn't the overpowering. He's not going to strike out 15 guys in a dominant outing, but he can come out and virtually make your lineup do nothing for 7 innings any day. And he's been unbelievable, Rob. So really it kind of makes you think, you just kind of wonder what this rotation would look like with Garrett Cole, but we can't do that. That's not fair. But Fried's been great, man. Absolutely unbelievable.
Totally. He's been a stud. And this one, Cody Bellinger doubles to score in 2, gets the Yankees up 2-0, and then McNeil singles in to get in Mark Vientos. Makes it a 2-1 game, and then McNeil once again scores on a McNeil again making some scoring happen. Scores on a wild pitch from from Max Fried to Austin Wells. So the Mets tie the game at 2-2, and then in the bottom of the 8th, Tyler, the Mets are going to Mets. Yorbit Vivas. I think that's the correct way to say it.
You're spot on. Hell of an at bat by him too.
A really good at bat after he
10,
goes
11
down,
pitches, something like that.
After he goes down 0-2, and he put the ball in play, and Pete Alonso just not. He's been a better defender, but he goes ahead and throws the ball away, and then
he airmailed the flip last night to the first 2.
Yes, against the Red Sox.
Or you sent me that, I think.
Yeah, and then it all unravels for the Mets. Goldschmidt singles into center to score in Austin Wells, and then Cody Bellinger with a grand slam, 8-2. And also in this game, we'll note one of the plays that Juan Soto didn't leg out a ball. And then last night he wasn't running hard against the Red Sox for that ball hit off the monster that we all know of.
His mom made him live in Queens,
and. So that was a huge storyline, and it just he didn't look like he was having a good time in this one, and it was fitting that Cody Bellinger, one of the players that they wouldn't have had if they had Juan Soto, hits the ball over the wall over Juan Soto. People are like, "Oh, he should have jumped higher for the ball." I wouldn't get on him for
You
that,
can't get on
but
him for that.
I'll get on him for the rest of the stuff
I'm
if
not
I
going to
was a
say he
Mets fan.
necessarily tracked it well. I think
Yeah,
Cody could make a play on that, or
no,
Trent, or something, or Aaron Judge, but you can't get on him for that.
no. So
He's trying to catch the ball.
I think so. The Yankees take this series 8-2 in a really exciting way. Devin Williams, like I said in that at bat against Soto, and just the real heart of the lineup against the Mets, did a really good job. Goes an inning pitch with a strikeout and held the fort down, getting his ERA down to 7.31. Tyler, that is in the right direction.
Let's go.
That is in the right
Getting it down
direction.
from 12.
So Yankees take this Subway Series. At the end of the day, they're not a division opponent. They're in a different league. But for the energy around the city and knowing that this is a good team, this was a very good series win for the Yankees. And I do think it's funny that now all of a sudden Mets fans are proclaiming that this is our World Series and this is Yankee fans' World Series.
That's the definition
I
of
mean,
gaslighting, Rob.
It is.
I'd
They've
say.
been. This has been their World Series for the past 30 years. They haven't.
Yeah.
I saw a funny tweet today. They haven't won a championship since the Reagan administration. What are we doing? So like, it's fine. Whatever. More of the conversation I'd say could be a little bit more towards Juan Soto, and this will probably be the only time that we spend any time on it, Tyler, until July when they play him again. But I do think it's warranted to. And we'll get into
It's relevant right now.
Our savages of the series and all that. But I think this series and this, thus far in the season, when we were looking at what the Yankees were going to do, it was Juan Soto and then Plan B. They didn't get Juan Soto. Juan Soto is now in Queens. And now, if you look at the Plan B, this Plan B without them,
It's Plan B.
they are performing exceptionally well. So I'm just going to pull up their stats real quick. This Plan B is working out really well. Max Fried, 6-0, 62.2 innings pitched, 60 strikeouts, a 1.29 ERA. Goldie, 5 home runs, 25 RBIs, a 339 average with an 878 OPS. Cody Bellinger, 7 home runs, 28 RBIs, 259 average, got that OPS up to 789. And then if you look at Soto, had 8 home runs, 20 RBIs. The average shifted around a little bit, but roughly an 815 OPS. So if you look at the way that this Yankees team and Brian Cashman, which we have to give him credit, they pivoted. They had to pivot. Their hand was forced, and they had to go and make a change and get good ball players in here.
Yep.
And that's exactly what they did. And Tyler, they're leading the division. And if you're a Yankee fan, you have to be happy with the way it played out. And clearly, Juan Soto will be better in his Mets days at some point. He will be. That's just the way. He's too good of a player not to be.
Yep.
But when you look at the commitment and the money and
Dude,
all
I don't
of that,
think that contract's going to look good in 2 years.
and that's
He's not
something
opting out.
that's something of a consideration now when the Yankees spread the wealth, it worked to their favor. And we mentioned the thing about Garrett Cole going down. The Yankees didn't make a Plan B option. Their pitching staff is in a really tough spot.
Yeah.
So, as I said earlier, it's a funny way how the universe works, and it worked in their favor to this point. And hopefully it continues to do so.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely hope the pitching staff works out. I think it will. And again, in my head, I'm still more, now that I'm really confident in the makeup of the team, and you kind of have gotten to see how deep the lineup can be with, the development of Dominguez, Rice, Trent, Belly coming around, Paul having a good year. You can kind of see that offense, the Yankees offense. I have zero worry about their offense long term this year is how I'll put that. And then in my head, I'm really looking at just needing 4 starters for October. I mean, that is the reality of October, is you need 4 starters, kind of 3 studs. And I don't think we're super far, man. I mean, when we have Fried, Rodon, Heel, and Schmidt, I really think that's a pretty good 4. Yeah, you kind of wish Garrett Cole was in that mix, but I'm confident in the pitching to work itself out. I'm confident in the bullpen to work itself out. Again, this is a team that's 5 games up on May 20th that doesn't have Giancarlo Stan, who will play a part at some point, probably very soon, actually.
He was running the
Um,
bases.
yeah. Hasn't had their AL Rookie of the Year winner in Luis Heel at all. So I'm really happy with this team, dude. I love with where they're at right now. Um, I see everyone kind of getting their panties in a twist with Volpe and things like that. And there's holes to discuss in areas of improvement, of course. But yeah, man, you can't be upset. Everyone was freaking out over Belly. I saw stuff on Twitter like 2 weeks ago saying, "Can we trade Belly at the deadline for an arm and just play Trent every day?" And it's like, come on, dude. Let's give it a shot for a second.
Yeah.
But like you said, man, I mean, 331 on base, 458 slug, 123 OPS plus. Yanks got four good outfielders is the way I'll put that, and
Yeah.
um, plenty of room to kind of allow people to get some good ABs in.
Yeah. I'm gonna say last thing on Soto and this point, and I'll leave it at that, and maybe we'll talk about it back in July when he come or when they go to Citi Field. But it is that money. It's pretty astonishing, Tyler.
It almost doesn't make sense when you look at it and remove his name.
I I'm gonna sit here and say I said it earlier. I will fully sit here and say that I wanted the Yankees to do everything they can to sign
Yeah,
Juan Soto, and I wanted him
same.
back with the Yankees because we saw the way that he and Aaron Judge performed together in that lineup. It was something special. It was
Hmm.
absolutely something special. But I will say, and it's early in these little instances where with
Mets
the
could win the World Series this year, dude. Who knows?
yeah, they can. And
You know.
and looking at the way that just some of these instances and you see that they signed him for his bat and that's why the Yankees were potentially going to sign him. It was
Hmm.
for that bat. But when you really think about how he is being paid $500 million more than a guy like Aaron Judge
Hmm.
or a player like Bryce Harper or players like
Bobby Witt,
Devers
like
or
any
Bobby
of
Witt
them.
and all these players. And listen, age is a factor. The timing of when he became a free agency, everything like that is totally a factor.
Hmm.
But it is pretty like you sit back and you say, oh, this is why the expectations are different. And this is why the scrutiny around what he's doing is just different.
Yeah.
And that's what you're seeing right now. And I mean, like fully too, yes, Yankee fans have high expectations, different than some of the baseball teams, but the Mets fans are going to have very, very high expectations.
Hmm.
And you're kind of seeing it now. They're very grateful for him going to the Mets, and there's clearly they wanted him, but now you're going to kind of if you got to kick it into gear, man, you're making $500 million
Yeah.
dollars more than a lot of these players. So that's my
Yeah.
last thing on it.
I'm with you, Rob. And then, like, we talked about this in the winter, but I bet Cashman didn't even want to go to the numbers he went to. I bet he's a little happy he got to cook instead of having to pay up.
Oh, no one is
Um,
happier than Brian Cashman right now.
because there is a world where like there's a world where Soto is a good hitter and like a top 10 hitter in the league, and that contract still doesn't make any sense. Um, like dude, if you just look back at his seasons in 2020, he really had the best year of his career, which is a 50 game season he played where he had he won 1.1 dotted. But outside of that, I mean, you're really looking at last year where he hit in front of the best right-handed hitter ever, had a 989 OPS. Outside of that, man, I mean, there are years where he's floating 850, 894, 930 OPS, which is obviously great, but when you don't run the bases too well and you're kind of a defensive negative,
Liability
yeah, I
sometimes.
mean, I get you're 26, but you very well could be turning 30 and, in a blink of an eye and go, wow, this contract is weird.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, I'm not gonna say I feel bad for Soto right now.
No.
Sorry.
Nope. That's what you
Sorry.
get. That's what
I
you
because
sign.
especially after reading all the stuff,
Do you
like
buy into the K report about
I
him
kind of I kind of do, dude. Like I
yeah.
kind of do. I don't think it was just driven by Juan's family. I mean, I think he gets a hard say in that as well. But I don't doubt that he wanted to come back to the
Yeah,
Yankees.
he's got a close relationship with his family clearly, and I'm sure that
And he really did look the happiest when he was hanging out with Boone
it
and
was
talking to Judge.
it was
It's like awkward almost to
yeah.
watch.
No, I was texting some of my buddies that are Mets fans. I'm like, did that make you mad that he was
Yeah.
smiling? He doesn't do the shuffle. He hasn't done it once this
The,
year.
the whole year. That's crazy, dude.
And he's like, I, I don't know.
And he's going to be good. Like, I really don't think he's going to be bad in any way.
Yeah.
It's just, I think he's made himself into a villain.
No, he is, and
Not
usually
just with Yankee fans, though. Like, I
all of
collectively,
baseball,
I think people kind of want to shit on him a little bit.
Philly fans, all that, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's head into our savages of the series. Got to go with Cody Bellinger. 7 hits, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, 3 walks, and 7 RBIs against the Mets in this series. For this week, he had the 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, batting .458, 875 slug, and a 1.411 OPS for this week. Cody Bellinger, in the course of 1 week, really made his numbers look a lot more appealing.
Yeah.
And he's putting it together. And hey, listen, he's going to earn
We've seen the floor, I think. We've seen the floor.
He's going to earn a lot of fans but from what he did in this Subway Series, and that if this can catapult him into a good season, like Tyler, we were talking about him being, if he's hovering around the 800 OPS, we call that a success. And if he gives you anything more, we're not expecting MVP Cody Bellinger.
Don't need him to be that.
We don't need him to be that, but we got to see a productive baseball player, and that's what he's been lately. And you just couldn't be happier the way that he's turned around. And you made the point too, even when he wasn't hitting, and now it's good to see him
nails
hitting,
in center field.
He's a great defender in the outfield. He really is. So
I don't
Cody
even
Bellinger,
think when I see him tracking a ball.
Yeah, so Cody Bellinger is turning it around, and it's really fun to see, and hoping that he can continue to do so. So that's who I'm going with.
Very deserving, Rob. I'm going to go slightly unorthodox. I don't think there was a ton of offensive production outside of Bellies that, really firmly warranted this. So I'm going to give it to the guy that I have a little bit of a soft spot for sometimes. Something I asked out of him probably 3 weeks ago on the pod. It's going to Carlos Rodon, man. And he didn't have a great start. 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned, 4 walks, 5 Ks. But I came on this pod a few weeks ago after whatever blow up start he had where he gave up 4 or 5 runs or whatever. And I was like, man, when you can become a good pitcher in my eyes, or a very good pitcher, when you are laboring but keeping us in the game. And I think that's what happened here. He goes 5, walks 4, doesn't have a ton of strikeouts, wasn't really like dominant necessarily, only gave up a couple hits, but he clearly didn't have, kind of the wipeout stuff he had been coming off of the last few games that he pitched in. And Yanks win this game, man. And I think that's big to start off this series with a W. Gives you some grace in that middle game of the series, and kept the Yanks in a position to win, which is all I've asked for out of him. So I almost want to view this as a stepping stone moment for him, because there's pressure on him, and I need him to be a firm number 2 or a 1B. And he's getting there in my eyes, honestly. So I'm gonna give it to Los for that.
Very deserving, very deserving. Let's do our Savage Slump Watch.
They stink.
I'm gonna go with Fernando Cruz, like I said, in that he's really been nails for the Yankees this season, but I do see that inning for him with the walk, infield single, hit by pitch, and then the sac fly to put the Mets ahead. But I'm not gonna get too crazy about it. And the Yankees were able to take the series win. And you never really want to go too much into a Savage, the Savage Slump Watch, and looking too much at the guys that. But hopefully he's been really good this year, so I'm not going to go too crazy on it. And he's been one of the stellar guys in this pen to make it what it is. So I'm going to go with Fernando Cruz.
That's fair. Very fair, Rob. I am going to go, and I just feel like this is rude, honestly. I just feel it's kind of got to be Peraza at some point, right? I mean, it doesn't look great in the field. I know he had one nice play in this series, But he goes hitless, started 2 games, 0 for 5. He did walk once, couple Ks, but I don't know, man. I know he hasn't been handled super well by the Yankees org in the fans' eyes, but
He's not helping himself
you,
out with
you're
some of these plays.
yeah, you're kind of getting some consistent playing time at this point. I know you're not necessarily getting just a run of like 6 games a week, but you got a .1 WAR in 27 games. A 64 OPS plus. You're hitting 172. You have 17 Ks on the year to 5 walks. Not to just kind of torch him here on his stats for the year, but Waldo goes down. That's the time to provide a little bit of spark. I know
Yeah.
Jorbeat kind of did by just putting the ball in play. So like little things like that. I mean, I'm just gonna pick on him a little bit here
You got to
because
give him something.
there's a good chance he's DFA'd or traded, Rob. I mean, there has to be a spot for Stanton, and he doesn't have options. He can't get sent down. So
I agree.
you're
I
playing
agree.
yourself off the team, brother.
I will also say this, Tyler. We're not going to go into a big dialogue about it, but
Yep.
I would. Volpe's at bats yesterday were
No, they were
challenging.
terrible, Rob.
They were
I
challenging.
have words for that if you'd like to get into a
Yeah,
short
go
dialogue.
go
but-
ahead. A short little thing before we hop off.
All right. Mine are going to be pro Volpe though, so you might not want to.
That's fine. I'll hear it.
And you can retort me.
I'll keep my ears open.
There we go. So my thing, right? Like I know he's looked bad, and some of the ABs on Sunday or whatever were just pretty ugly. And I know what we were sold, Rob, 3 years ago. He was the controllable piece that can have offensive production like Seager, Simeon, Story, all these guys they passed on. But at the end of the day, I know he's got a bad game and he just shouldn't be hitting fifth for the Yankees. I mean, that's the reality of
that
it.
is another thing. He should be further down in the
And
lineup.
that's a front office problem. And when Stanton's back, he'll be hitting in that spot, and Volpe will be 7th or 9th somewhere there. But I mean, he's a really good defender, dude. He's on the year. He's got a 745 OPS. In comparison, Belly's got a 790. He's slugging 422, 323 on base. I've always just been like, hey, I need the on base to be closer to the middle threes, which he's done. I guess I've just lowered my expectations in a way. I don't have him as a stud offensively. I have him as a league average hitter that can run and plays Gold Glove defense. And I don't, however loud the fans get, I don't think the front office is ever going to care.
They're
honestly.
not going. They're not going to.
Because he is productive, dude. He's second on the team in WAR. Like that's the best way I can.
I
put
know,
it.
but I think that
We were sold something different.
that, and I still to this point I know that he is at this point in the season. I still question if he can be a league average hitter.
That's fair because he has these things, dude, where he's good for 10 days and terrible for 3 weeks.
That's the thing. So, and only thing that's going to allow us to see that is more time this season. And he's hitting one of those bad stretches and where he just looks like, excuse my French, he looks like shit at the plate.
Yep.
So
just doesn't have an approach, dude.
That's the thing. And that's where I'm like, it lends itself to just be. And then I say, how much weight are we going to put in to his stellar defense where we say we can't explore other options? And I know the Yankees this year, I'm not saying it's this year. I'm not saying it's next year.
No, I hear you though.
But
at what point is enough, or is this not enough?
Yes.
Virtually.
So that's where we're like, if a option presents itself in the coming years and we say that we can shift around Volpe or move off of him, I may be like, yes, but and I get it. Like there's fans that really, really like him, and I respect it. He's a Jersey kid.
I don't love him. I just don't think he's bad.
I don't think he's bad. He clearly has value for this team.
Yeah,
I just don't
especially
think
on the deal he's on.
But I don't think he's a good hitter. I really don't think he's a good hitter.
Fair. Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
The postseason helped me kind of really see the light at the end of the tunnel, how well of a postseason he put together.
And that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's see it. And then he has these moments where I'm like, dude, why are you swinging first pitch?
Yeah, you just gotta hope one day like the ebbs and flows aren't so dramatic. I'll leave it at this, Rob. He leads the Yankees in strikeouts with 49. Following that, he's also second on the team in walks behind Aaron Judge. Following that, he is tied for first on the team in doubles. So, like, there is production there. It's just the lows are so freaking low that it's like, okay, dude, you like the floor needs to come up a little bit. Which is why it's like if he never did anything good and just popped homers and like the on base was still low, I'd be like, you know what, I'm out on this kid. Um, I just feel like, especially the way he plays, like just take the ball the other way, dude. Like stop trying to swing out of your shoes right now on your first pitch and when he has like weird moments where he can't touch a fastball, like stuff like that is what bothers me.
Just we'll see how it progresses. We'll see how it progresses.
We'll
We'll leave
see
it at
how it
that.
works
That's our
itself
that's
out.
our one rift on this
Yep.
podcast. Is
There we
like
go.
we're gonna see how it goes. But hey, man, they win the series and they took care of business against the Mets and the Subway Series bragging rights are on the Yankees side for whatever
Yep.
that's worth. It's not really worth anything until maybe they match up in an actual World Series, Subway Series, and that's when it really counts. But that's it for episode 205. Really appreciate everyone for joining us. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Apple as well as Spotify, and leave us a rate and review and leave us a comment if you think anything about Soto, anything about Volpe, anything about anything. So appreciate everyone for listening. We'll catch you at 206. Peace.